Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, I want to talk about how Vonage Business is now offering free unlimited phone calls to Mexico. Yes, for those of you who are watching, this isn't a gimmick. This isn't like some conjecture. It is completely true and verified, and I've even verified it with them. Vonage Business, at the time of this video, is now offering free unlimited calls to phone numbers in Mexico. How did this come about? So I actually had somebody that contacted me. I want to say it's been approximately 3 weeks ago, and she was looking at either Nextiva for her startup business, or she was looking at Vonage Business. And I told her, I said, well, I represent both carriers. We have Vonage Business customers as well as Nextiva customers that we've helped all across the country. And I just asked her point blank. I said, what's the reason you're looking at Nextiva, and what's the reasons you're looking at Vonage Business? Without going into all the details, she basically told me right then and there. She said, well, I like some of the stuff that Nextiva has. However, my business, she specifically stated that her business, even though it's a US-based business, she is constantly doing business with individuals and other businesses, some form of consulting for businesses and individuals in Mexico that also have affairs in the United States back and forth and things like that. For those of you who do or don't know, at the time of this video, it's no secret to anyone that, with the whole Trump wall and all that stuff going on, and the sanctions between the United States and Mexico, there has not only been quite a bit of political and economic struggle between the two countries, the United States and Mexico. Also, many of you probably already know, and some of you who are watching whose business may fall into this category, there has also become a lot of business opportunity that has opened up and that has come about for US-based businesses that do business with Mexico and vice versa. Mexican businesses that have economic ties or business interest in the United States. We'll say legal ones for the purpose of this video. But anyways, so that being said, I think that's part of the reason why Vonage has decided to kind of open up the gates and allow for businesses on their platform to be able to communicate with, people on Mexico numbers or Mexican businesses, whether it be actual businesses owned by Mexican citizens or businesses that are branch offices from U.S. businesses or something like that that are in Mexico. So that being said, one of the things that I wanted to show, which is on this screen here, is when I heard this news and the prospect that we were working with had mentioned, well, even though I'm looking at Nextiva or Vonage, I think I'm kind of leaning towards Vonage because we do a lot of business with individuals in Mexico and businesses in Mexico. So for her, it's a huge savings. Whereas at the time of this video, Nextiva charges for calls outside of the United States to Mexican phone numbers or Mexico-based locations. I thought, what? Before we do a video on this, because this is big, especially with the news going on and with the fact that even before all of this news with the Trump wall and the sanctions and the heat going on with economic ties between the U.S. and Mexico, there are a lot of U.S.-based businesses in the U.S. that need to be able to communicate with people in Mexico for whatever it is their business endeavors may be. So that being said, I decided, let me go ahead and just search Vonage's page. And here's what I actually found. And this is fairly new as of March the 13th, 2019, it says calls to phone numbers in the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, Canada and Mexico are at no cost. So this pretty much verifies that it is true. Not only that, but I actually picked up the phone and called some of my contacts in high places at Vonage and said, hey, is this legit? And they did confirm that it is legit. As soon as I found out that the news was true, I picked up the phone because we have a client that's been a Vonage. They've been a client of ours on many fronts for almost 15 years. And they've been a client that we set up with Vonage Business for almost 6 years. And not only do they have corporate headquarters in Germany, they also have staff and a small branch office in Mexico that has always posed some problems with being able to contact their staff and their contacts in Mexico, fee-free or international fee-free. So I immediately picked up the phone and contacted the president of the company and said, hey, great news. Not only am I going to do a video about this, but you guys now, with the system that you already have with Vonage Business, now have the ability to contact, your staff and other persons in Mexico. There's some things that I want to talk about here and reasons why this is not only beneficial to this particular company, but beneficial to any company in the United States or outside of the United States that needs to call from Mexico back. So let's just play devil's advocate here and look at it from both ways. First of all, obviously, if you're a business, as I've already stated, that's in the United States and you already have Vonage Business, now you can contact Mexico for free without paying anything on the Vonage Business system, just like you've always been able to contact Canada or something like that. Now you can contact all of the United States, including the non-mainland states, Alaska and Hawaii, as well as Canada and anywhere in Mexico that's a Mexican number, on their area codes or whatever. The other thing that's nice about this is businesses that now are thinking it's time to switch to voice over IP or it's time to look at a new system. This makes it to where Vonage becomes a very viable option in the pool of other options out there if your business relies heavily on the need to be able to communicate back and forth between the United States and Mexico. So that's a big, big, big money saver, especially if you're making a lot of calls in and out in that regard. Another point that I wanted to go over, okay, that's the other big point. So let's flip it on its head here. So let's say that you're a US-based business and not only do you need to be able to call Mexico, you need your staff to be able to call Mexico as well. The nice thing about a Vonage Business system or any voice over IP system for that matter, but now even more so valuable with Vonage because they allow the free calls to Mexico, is you can actually get phones for, say, your staff in Mexico or for your branch office or offices in Mexico. Ship those phones to Mexico via a freight forwarder or whatever you may already have in place to ship equipment to those offices. And now you can call seamlessly between those offices, the US-based branch and the Mexico-based branch, as if you're in the same cubicle or in the same call center, or you're just multiple departments. So this opens up a huge door for businesses that are already on the Vonage Business system or businesses that are now looking at a new voice over IP solution. And they're like, hey, not only do we do business within the United States, we need to be able to contact people in Mexico, but we don't want to incur a lot of fees. Bingo, there's your answer. You would have no fees, not only to call your staff in Mexico, but also for you in the United States and your staff in Mexico to be able to call clients or contacts or individuals in Mexico that are not on your phone system, such as people's home phone numbers in Mexico, people's cellular phones, so on and so forth. Even other business phone systems in Mexico that might be landline based or voice over IP or whatever that may be. So there's some other things I want to talk about here, just things to consider when you do something like this with Vonage Business. First of all, understand with Vonage Business, and this is not just a parameter for Mexico, this is for all countries. For anybody who's watching this that is on an existing Vonage Business system, or you're thinking about switching to Vonage Business and you're looking at a quote or like to entertain one, international calling to any country outside of the United States and Canada is restricted by default. The reason it is restricted by default is to protect you from somebody in your organization from being able to just pick the phone up and start, somebody in your organization might be thinking about booking a trip to Aruba or a trip to, the Cayman Islands or something like that. The last thing that you want somebody in your organization doing is having the ability to say, oh, you know what? I don't want to incur those fees on my cell phone. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the phone and just use the company phone to, make the arrangements for my trip and things like that for my family and for my kids and stuff like that. You don't want that. So that being said, by default, all Vonage Business phone systems at the time of purchase and activation and for the life of it, until you call Vonage and unlock it, international calling is locked by default. Now, don't quote me on this, but the last time that I checked, because we had to use our phone system for international calling at one point to Costa Rica and some other countries way back when, I believe when you call in, not only does it have to be the super user, the owner of the account, that has to call in, which would be like one of the partners in the company or the president of the company or whatever it may be. The owner of the account has to actually physically pick up the phone and call into Vonage Business. verify your account number, tell them who you are, and just say, hey, I'd like to unlock international calling for the account. Now, this may have changed, but from what I understand is not only do you have to call in and you have to authorize it, you can't do it for the entire world. You have to authorize international calling for specific countries. So that way, if you open it up for, say, Mexico, it means that if somebody in your office still tries to call the Cayman Islands to book their holiday trip, they still can't do it. So there's some added layer of protection there. But just understand, if you're watching this and you're thinking about moving to Vonage, or you're on an existing Vonage business system, you need to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I saw this video from this guy at Rich Technology Group. He said that you guys are now offering free international calls to Mexico. Can somebody go ahead and unlock those area codes so that we can contact Mexico? Also, keep in mind that every country has a country code. Even though you're not going to be charged for the calls to Mexico or to Canada, you still have to dial the country code to be able to dial out before you dial the actual Mexican or Canadian number to get out. So when you call into Vonage Business to say, hey, can you enable this for this country, you need to also ask, by the way, what is the international calling code that I have to type in before I can dial the actual number that I'm trying to call? And they'll tell you exactly how it's done in that format. So anyways, I hope this video, Vonage Business is now offering free and unlimited calls to all phone numbers in Mexico, you guys found helpful. If you're somebody that is watching this video and already has Vonage Business, fly away, have fun with that. Now you can call Mexico. If you're somebody who's watching and you're interested in a quote because your business relies heavily on making calls in and outside of the United States and Mexico, give me a call. I can get you the best possible deals on Vonage Business, better than you would get if you shopped Vonage Business directly yourself. Again, Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business, internet, and phone service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.